That's
All right,
crazy.
so heads, Andrew, you'll get to choose. Do you want to go first or second? We'll start with the introduction, and then we'll just alternate as questions go down the row. Your mic's muted.
I'll go second.
Second?
Okay, everyone. That means I'm here. Um, so Hunter, whenever.
Yep, so whenever you start talking, you'll get 3 minutes to kind of do your introduction, opening remarks. I'll hold a finger up like this when you've got 1 minute left.
Okay,
When your time's up, we'll go to Andrew.
perfect. So hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the opportunity for allowing the Maverick Movement as a whole to come here and speak. I'm Dhaval. I'm running as the president alongside Marilyn, who's also running as vice president for student government over the course of next year. Um, a little bit about myself. I am a international student from India. Also served as the community advisor for Presca, served as the residential life senator for student government over the course of this year. I hope the coronavirus is not among your family members and everybody's doing okay. Um, so uh, I want to explain why I'm running for student government because I feel like that would be one of the questions I'll be asked. The reason is just to form a big community at MSU. We as a party feel that when the students come back from their families, it'll be an atmosphere where everybody will be uncomfortable. So our job as student government, as a party, will be to just unite everyone and just create an atmosphere of where everybody can be included and everybody can be comfortable. And we will do that through our platform of mental health, um, cheaper textbooks, and the other things that are also listed there, which also include the international health, student health insurance, and parking. So all these issues that we need to tackle that we worked on over this year can be used to better student life, and that is our goal. So in a nutshell, I specialize in building communities, and I want to build a big community at MSU, and that is me, Dhaval.
All right, thank you for that. So Andrew, same deal. You have 3 minutes. I'll hold up one finger, and you've got 1 minute left. So whenever you want to get going.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew Trenne, and I'm running for president for student government, along with my running mate, Arnavee Maltare, who is currently the at-large senator for student government. I am currently a junior studying political science with a minor in history and business law. So I have both experiences in College of Business and SBS. We are running to continue the conversations we've had this year and continue the work we've done as student government, which has gone above the normal fray of student government. We've been advocating this year for cheaper school, cheaper textbooks, mental health awareness, and we've done a really good job advocating for students. And me and my running mate and my whole party want to continue advocating the best of our ability for students, because we know and have experienced this year that strong leadership enacts real change on this campus, and we feel as the Empowering Mavericks that we have the experience, the dedication to serve the students and advocate for all students and help. Yeah, that's about it. Hunter, you're muted.
Dang, that'll get you. All right, so thank you both for that. So awesome. So for the questions, you'll each get 2 minutes to answer these. Similarly to the introduction, I'll hold up one finger when you've got 1 minute left. Andrew, it is your turn to start this one. So I'll propose the first question to you. In your own words, what does being student government president mean to you?
So to me, being the student government president means helping serve students and helping bring them to the table to empower them to speak and advocate for themselves and for students in general. This past year as the current student body vice president, I've worked alongside the current president and seen a lot what the role can and cannot do. And it kind of enables me to know what as president I can work on and how I can best go about it and see the challenges that this current president has faced and what issues we will also face as students next year. I have a lot of experiences understanding the issues we've seen this year, working with key administrators. It's a big part of being the president. We have meet and confers, we have sub-meet and confers, we meet with Dr. Jones, President Downport. So having those connections is also key as president, and using those connections as the president to help advocate for students and help and empower them to speak about their issues. Because our biggest disadvantage of students is that there's 14,000 of us, and there's only so many faculty and only so many staff members on this campus. So each student will have a different experience, and the job of the president of the student government is to help bring those voices to the table, because I may experience something different than other students, and it's our job to help ensure that whatever they're experiencing can help be addressed and fixed potentially.
Awesome, thank you, Andrew. So Dhaval asked the same question of you, and before you answer, I'll re-ask the same question verbatim back to you, so then you can understand again what the question is.
Yes,
So,
sir.
in your own words, what does being student government president mean to you?
I think as president, my job or the entire party's job is transition, because when you come as a freshman, you come from a different background that's really different from the entire university atmosphere, where you meet a lot of different students from a lot of different countries. When I came as a student in US, it was really difficult for me to talk to different people and just connect with them. And student government became an avenue through which I advocated my concerns and also my constituents' concerns. So I want to make sure that I continue to that role, where all the students that come to this campus leave this campus with a new connection, with a new friend, and also knowing that they did something that's really memorable for them, that they'll remember and cherish after they graduate. So I think that would be my primary job as a student body president, to really communicate and also maintain and facilitate that transition. On the other hand, our party's goal is inclusivity and accessibility. We have put out in our various platforms and social media that our job is to increase the transparency between the administration and the students. Andrew mentioned that there are 14,000 of us, but I also believe that the administration as it stands can be accessible to all of them. And that can be done through town halls and having student government meetings at different sections that is on our platform. So those are the two specific things that can really bring everybody together, and also communicate that there are a lot of resources that the university has, and they can be used to use for students' advantages. Our major disadvantage right now is students not knowing about them. So I think it's our organization's job to do that. Also, there are three major key players that we have mentioned time and again, which is ISA, student government, and the Greek life. I think if we can...
First of all, I have to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought you were giving me a 1 minute signal, Hunter. What happened to that?
I did.
Oh, you did? My bad. Okay, all right. I'll continue my portion in the next question.
So just for the sake of it, everyone's going to get 2 minutes, not really extensions, just 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. Perfect.
So moving on to the next question, Dhaval, this one will be for you first.
Okay.
Why are you interested in and qualified for this position, and why do you believe you are the best candidate?
Perfect. So I think that it can be really carried forward. So like I mentioned, there are three key players that we need to unite, and I think I'm the best candidate because I have the skills that are required for this task at hand. Like I mentioned, I've been the community advisor for 2 years. I've been student government for 3 years now. So I know what it takes to communicate with not only students, but also administration. So while we have to look at collaborating all these different factors, I think we need a person who can really bring everybody together, who can be the warm voice, but also at the same time be a strict hand at making sure that this relationship can be established. I think we as a student government did a great job by bringing different administrators, different administrators into our student government meetings. But at the same time, we also need to make sure the students know about them so they can come and ask questions. So I see a one-way hand now. So I think we need a person that has key leadership skills, that has demonstrated different relationship with different administrators, and also a person who can show a lot of teamwork at the same time with Senate and different students. And I think I've demonstrated that through different experiences on campus, like CA, being MDCC, being a founder of an RSO, and things like that. So that's what.
Awesome, thank you. Andrew, I'll reread the question for you. Why are you interested in and qualified for this position, and why do you believe you are the best candidate?
So I'll start with some of the qualifications that I have that made me really interested in being and running for student government president. I was a senator 2 years ago as a freshman, so I know what it's like to be a vacancy senator. I was RHA president my sophomore year, so I had the experience of working with residential life to work on on-campus student issues further than what a senator could do or can do. So I built the connections not only with the director of residential life, but also the dean of students. And this year I've been the current student body vice president, so I've worked really hard and had a long connection with not only the current student body president, but Dr. Jones, President Downport, key administrators such as David Cowan, who's in charge of parking, the bookstore manager who can help us get cheaper textbooks and work on programs like that. I have a really good connection and relationship with the IFO, which is the faculty union. So having those connections with faculty can really empower us to get our issues as students heard to the faculty union, which can actually bring change to campus. And some of the reasons why I decided to run is the work that we've done this year isn't just a one-year thing. A lot of people say, oh, you guys said you would do this, you said you do that. It's more than just a one-year change. Textbook affordability is a multi-year, it should never just be a single year issue. So working with that, and then college affordability is also one thing that's not just a one-year thing we can accomplish as students. So it's just working together to keep bringing the changes that we've been working so hard this year to continue bringing it forward next year, working with the relationships we've already established as student government and working to bring that. But I would also say this year we were working on town halls. We were going to do a provost day in the office so everyone can meet the provost and have student connections with the provost, along with bringing State Senator Nick Frentz on campus so he could come meet students and hear legislative issues for students. So it's more than just a university. You need to connect students with stakeholders from the state and federal level, which I would say we've done, except COVID-19 really impacted that. So I think it's just we need to keep working relationships with all stakeholders, university and state is the biggest issue.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. All right, so we'll now move on to the next question. This one's a little bit lengthier, so you're gonna have to listen pretty closely to try to kind of pick out all the parts to make sure you answer all the questions that are in there. The student government president and vice president are responsible for working on behalf of the student body with many university stakeholders. Please talk about how you have been able to build and maintain positive relationships with other groups and what you will do to ensure student government maintains positive relationships with all departments and organizations on campus.
Is that a question for me, Hunter, or Andrew?
That one's for Andrew.
Oh, okay.
Hunter, can I ask, can you also type the questions in the chat while we're speaking? Because that might be helpful so that he can also read.
Yeah, I will, what I'll do is I'll kind of throw like the main points in there. So what I'll do right now is maybe as you're talking, give me a minute to kind of get the main parts of this one typed up, and then as you're talking about stuff, I'll kind of get the next question prepped and ready to go in the chat. So give me a quick minute, and then I'll reread the question back for you as I post it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Did you want me to start, or are you're gonna type it, right?
Yeah, yep, you can wait. We'll just have a little minute here of dead space, and then I'll kind of throw something in the chat.
37 people here, which is good. Yeah, I expected more, but it's great. It's good stuff. 37 people. We can have more.
Hunter, this is John. While you're doing that, I'm just letting you know that I'll have the next questions ready to go on the queue so that you don't have to be worrying about that. So I will have those ready to copy and paste into the chat as well.
Awesome. So what I'm posting right now should kind of be like kind of the guts of the question. So you can read through that, and then I'll reread the question, and then Andrew, whenever you're ready. So I'll read this quick, and then you should be good to go. The student government president and vice president are responsible for working on behalf of the student body with many university stakeholders. Please talk about how you've been able to build and maintain positive relationships with other groups and what you will do to ensure student government maintains positive relationships with all departments and organizations on campus.
Yes. So, this year we've done a really good job about reaching out to RSOs, whether that be through monthly meetings. The current student body president, Nisa Omar, and I had monthly meetings not only with the Panhellenic and Interfraternity Council, but the International Student Association. And so we want to keep doing that next year, just because we know that when we get the student leaders together, we're able to hear issues affecting different groups, as such as RSOs, and really work together to accomplish big things. We wouldn't see the things like cultural contribution scholarship reform without our connection with the current ISA leadership. We wouldn't see anything about the increased connection with Greek life if we didn't go to their inauguration ceremony or have monthly meetings with them. Really, building those relationships and maintaining them are key to our success, because there is 14,000 students here, and getting everyone together that can, at the same time we are as student government trying to impose change, they're also with us, helping give advice, build upon what we're doing. Obviously, we need to reach out to groups that I may not participate in and see those issues, because it's bringing them to the table and bringing them and empowering their voices so that we can represent them and know their issues, so that we can better serve all students.
Awesome. Dhaval, would you like me to reread the question, or do you feel confident you can?
Oh no, that's totally fine. Oh, the chat thing really helped. I think two things that really set the Maverick movement apart, which is first is Marilyn and I did a great job recruiting the student leaders at this university in our party. So now the reform can take place from inside the student government. Andrew hit the nail in the coffin by saying the relationships with the organizations. That is also something that's important, by having senators going to different meetings or reporting them back to different organizations. We have the president of the Liberian Student Association, we have the president of the Bangladeshi Student Organization, and we have vice presidents and executive members from different Greek life and academic and sport individual and sport athletes as well. So it's like having all these key stakeholders being a part of next year's student government can really increase the chances of students' voices being heard, because that is what we're supposed to do. The second reason why we could increase this relationship and also maintain them is by looking into different Senate positions that we could possibly create by changing the Constitution. The one thing that we definitely looked in was creating either an ISA senatorial seat or either more multicultural senatorial seats. So those are the things that our party is working on to see if we could really increase the diversity, because that is, and also increase the inclusion, because those are the three key values of our party, which is diversity, development, and devotion towards all campus students. So I think having our values of inclusion and accessibility, we could look to specifically increasing the stake of specific organizations, because we know, like right now in student government, before a Greek life member came in, we definitely lacked the representation of Greek life in student government as senators. So I think those key specific representations are important, and our party has worked on those representations to get them in and get their voice heard. That is how we can see how we can increase those collaboration. Yeah, that was it, Hunter. That was it.
All right. So moving on to the next question. This one will start with you, Dhaval. You can see it in the chat there. But I'll read it.
1 second, yeah.
What do you believe is the biggest issue facing MSU students, and how do you plan to address that issue?
Perfect. time and again, our platform has mentioned three issues that are really important for students right now that they're facing. First is the mental health issue. Second is parking, and third is the international student health insurance. Now, those are not the bullet points; those are like the equal important issues that stand at the top. Um, so the first issue, mental health, we did the research that was presented to student government in one of the meetings was in 2018 there were about 300 mental health cases in the counseling center. In 2019, that number rose up to about 1600. So those are that is a thousand people spike, and we need to ensure that we tackle that in an efficient way. So I met with Seth Nelson, who founded the RSO called Mental Health Mankato. And we have come up with different strategies, such as first, instituting a mental health day. Second, increasing the number of appointments in the counseling center. And third, having a mental health course at the start of the semester. So those are the three key things. Second is parking. We have looked into decreasing the cost of passes by running discounts. That's something that Rihanna Stiff did in our student government this previous year. And third is international student health insurance. We have tackled that by giving students more options. So those are the three key issues that we plan on addressing over the course of next year and positively bring an end to that solution. So to the problem. So yeah, those things.
Awesome, thank you. Andrew, would you like me to reread the question, or are you good to go?
I'll be good. So the biggest issue affecting students, and this is an every year thing, is the cost of affordability of college. We've seen time and time again that tuition's going up, fees are going up, parking permits are going up, textbook costs are going up. So one thing we've been doing this year, and I've really spearheaded it, is getting a lobby day at the Capitol, because as students, again, we're disadvantaged that we don't know our lawmakers like other people do in other areas of the state. So working to address the cost of higher education, we've worked a lot with our state senator and state representative to get a tuition freeze and advocate. We went to the Capitol and met with 40 different lawmakers to talk about a tuition freeze and what that impact would be for students. So it's going the extra step about affordability. We've also done textbook affordability this year. We've expanded the Maverick Textbook Reserve Program to include more courses. We've also talked a lot about with the bookstore and the provost about getting rid of online access codes and the effect of online differentials has on students. As student government next year, we really want to push and keep advocating for a tuition freeze, getting rid of online differentials because it's unfair to students, and also continuing lowering costs where we can as students, whether that be in parking, whether that be for textbooks, and just in general, we want to lower those fees because they're too high for students and it's really becoming a barrier.
Alrighty. So thank you both for that. Next question, you can see John put it there in the chat, but I'll read it out for you quick. If you could change the way one thing is done on campus, what would that be and why? And we'll start with you, Andrew.
Yeah. Do I start, Hunter? Right. So if I could change one thing, how this campus is done, it would be how students are involved in the process. Time and time again, students are left out of the conversations, whether that be for, new buildings on campus. The COVID-19 situation has really shown that students' voices aren't being heard. So that's the biggest thing I would change on campus, is including more students in general, because our student body is very diverse and we all come from different backgrounds. And every decision the university makes needs to include students from every walk of life, because we're tired of having students be the last person here about a change and then the university not have a adequate response to an issue a student brings up. So they should be at the beginning of a conversation, not at the end. And if elected president, and along with my vice president, we would ensure students are at the table, and in the conversations with whatever is being decided at the university. Because we are the people that do pay the fees, pay the tuition. We're the people that come to this school, and we really enjoy this campus, and we want to ensure that we are being adequately represented.
Awesome, thank you. Dhaval, would you like me to read the question, or are you good to go?
Oh, sure, we're good. So one thing, what I like to do differently is really give the cost breakdown to students, because what I've heard from my residents and my fellow colleagues is that they're being charged $4,000, but they don't know what these specific costs entail. we as student government, we make important decisions that affect the fees. We just passed our budget for the next year. So I think students need to know that. And as much as a job, as a good of a job that we do at communicating that by having open meetings and by having that broadcasted to students, it's not reaching them. So our job, uh, our our job for the next year would be really making sure that students conveyed that breakdown, whether they want it or not, because it's really something that they need to know, because they're paying for those specific fees. So I think a lot more accessibility and transparency can help with these issues. And that's how one thing I'll change is conveying the breakdown to every single student of what's being charged. Because if I'm buying $5 of McDonald's, I need to know what I bought and not just a $5 bill on my credit card. So that is one specific thing that everybody would like to see that's changed, and it's logical. So yeah.
All right, Dhaval, we'll start with you on the next question too.
Yes, sir. Let me read that real quick.
John put it in the chat, but I'll read it here quick. How will you increase transparency between student government and the rest of campus?
Oh, perfect. John really hit the nail in the coffin over there. That is one thing I've been addressing from my first answer, which is we need to increase that transparency. And how we have mentioned two simple ways. First is by having student government meetings at different locations. We believe that by meeting in Nichols Room, CSU 238, although all the senators know it, all the administrators know it, but we don't see many students in there. So one solution to that is by just having meetings at different locations, whether it be different buildings or different places. I think that can really help students see, oh, okay, what is this organization? Let me take a sneak peek real quick. So those are the ways I think we could make that more accessible. Second is by having town halls where we can invite administrators from the campus to answer student concerns. That is one thing I pushed for last year at the University of Toledo, and we were really successful, is by having monthly town halls. We invited the president, which here is Dr. Davenport, Mr. Cowan, Dr. Jones. All these administrators that play a key role should be really accessible to students. And I think student government's job is to make that happen. So I truly believe that those are the two ways that we could really increase the transparency among students and the administrators.
All right, thank you. Andrew, would you like me to reread it, or are you good to go?
I'm good. So the way I'm planning on increasing transparency from student government to the student body is continuing our town hall Tuesdays that we've been doing this year. But furthermore than tabling, we want to invite and do them in certain rooms in the CSU to invite administrators in, different RSOs. We also want to have people go to those RSOs and communicate what student government's doing and also take feedback from them. As much as we want to hear from the presidents and executive officers, there's also general student body members in those RSOs we want to hear from and have that transparency with them. And finding out from this campaign cycle, actually, doing the virtual town halls that we've been doing as Empowering Mavericks is something we want to do next year. While not every student is on campus, especially our online students who don't come here, we want to do monthly town halls online to update the general student body of what we're doing, take questions and hear feedback that way, as well as doing a yearly survey at the beginning of the year. As much as we also like to advocate for students, we want to be able to have a survey to see the general scope of what students are looking for from us, and also to see how we can correctly advocate for them. Because obviously there's a new student group, freshmen are coming in, they may have different issues and point of views than what we may have this year. So we want to hear all those voices and correctly have transparency to advocate for them. And we also want to keep pushing out our live stream for student government. We've been doing a really good job about pushing our Senate meetings, our live streams, how to come. We've put that in all student emails. We've done that through Facebook and social media posts, but we can always do more, and we will do more to make sure students can come to our open forums and we can see them on our committees, in our student government positions, just because we do work for them and we do serve them.
Awesome, thank you both. John, thanks again for typing the questions, that helps a lot. So Andrew, you'll be first up for the next question, and it reads as follows. What is one promise that you can make to the student body and commit to keeping should you be elected?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So one promise we have made, and we will keep making it and keep saying it, is that we will never stop advocating for students. We both have gone to advocacy day with Students United, and that taught us how to advocate and how to correctly advocate. And then we put that into action by going to the state capitol with Students United and speaking to legislators about our issues. For example, when we met with Senator Nick Friends, I let Arnavee and our Dominic, our diversity coordinator, speak a lot about international student healthcare, and that got him to listen. So we will never be done advocating for students, and we'll never stop speaking for them, because when we get our student issues into the minds of people who make decisions, we can see and affect long-lasting change. And that's something we're really gung-ho about and really eager to do, is that there's a lot we can do as students and as student government, and you don't have to be in student government to make a change. You could be a citizen advocating in front of a committee. You can be on a student government committee. You don't have to be in a position of power to make that change. And that's our job as president and VP, is not to be the change, but to empower others to also be that change. Just because we all have different experiences, everyone has their own how college is going. So it's more so bringing them to the table and helping them speak to the people who make the decisions.
Awesome, thank you. Dhaval, you want me to read it, or are you good to go?
Good, sir. Good. I think the promise that we've been making to all the students with through our social media is a promise we'll keep, because I want to say that those are not just some fake pieces of social media posts that are just lying around so we get all your votes. I think we are determined to keep those promises and to have our legacy be a part of those campaign promises that we can definitely be proud of, like 2 years down the road when students are enjoying more options to student health insurance, lower parking fees, and more accessibility. So, and less mental health issues, of course. So those are the promises we vowed to keep, because we never make promises we can't keep. At least that has been. I'm a big character person, and yeah, I think I can speak to that. That I never make false hopes in people, because I know I won't be able to keep them. So that is one thing that I wanna address that here. But at the same time, I want to say that our job will be empowering more student leaders, because you don't need to. Involvement is great, but if we could have students just develop as leaders in their own niche, and just encouraging them to come out of their comfort zone and do greater and better things that can make them a better individual, that will be a success as a student government that we believe that, which is a future that we can believe in.
Awesome, thank you very much. John's got the next question posted there, so I'll read it out. And Dhaval, you'll be up first for this one.
The topic of continues to be discussed today on today's college campus.
The topic of diversity and inclusion continues to be discussed on today's college campuses. What will you do to help all students feel welcome and like they can have their voices heard?
I think that is a great question, because we already demonstrated that we have been putting in work by just seeing our party. If you look at our party, I've mentioned that we have leaders from all different student areas. So I think using that to our advantage, and just imagine a student coming from Ivory Coast where he or she's here, and then a leader who's also part of student government, he meets them and sees all the different opportunities that are there for them on this campus. I've met a lot of friends through student government, and I think if we have more senators that just do that, that could be really beneficial to increase the inclusion on this campus. Because the problem is not with diversity. We have a lot of diverse folks. The problem is with inclusion, is where students don't feel more able to do many things. So I think our job as student government next year is to make that resources more accessible. And how we'll do that is by always reaching out to different students, listening to their problems, and solving all these issues that students face, and having more transparency by having town halls and different meetings. So those are the issues that we definitely are able to solve, which is in our grasp, are logical, and all the solutions are also posted that can be done in the next 8 months, because that is the time we have as student government if elected, of course.
All right, thank you. Andrew?
I should be good. So yes, our biggest goal and objective as student government is to make sure every student feels welcome and that they can succeed in this environment at Minnesota State University Mankato. Specifically, one thing we've done this year, and I will continue doing, to the day I leave office, if elected, is bringing the people to the table. One thing we did this year is that, for mean confers, when we saw something that we didn't know a lot about, for example, for our mean confers, when we talked about international students, we invited the ISA leadership and we invited international students to come to speak to the president's cabinet about the issues they're facing, because that's the biggest goal and that's the biggest thing anyone can do when they advocate, is telling their personal stories and connections to people, because that will inspire and hear the change from the university. And when doing that, we saw a lot of things come from the university that really is helping international students. We saw cultural contribution scholarship change. We saw international student healthcare actually become an issue for the state system as a whole, because we brought the international students to the table. That's the biggest thing we can do, is empowering others to help and put them in that environment that they can advocate for themselves and for other students. Because I may not know all their issues, but they are better equipped to speak for them and infect change on the student body.
Awesome. Thank you both. So final prepared question we've got for you before we'll go to the audience. So Andrew, we'll be starting with you on this one, is what do you want your legacy to be after your term?
Yeah, so the legacy I want after my term would be to continue advocating for students. I'm really I don't know how I'm going to beat Anissa this year. President Omar, our current student body president, she's done above and beyond what a normal president can and should do. So I want to go above and beyond even her and continue working with every student to accomplish every student. Our platform isn't just things to get votes. There are things that we know and I've experienced this year, as my VP also has, that we know we can get done. They're not there just to get votes. They're not impossible to do. With a good team and a good senator and good student government and good leadership, we can do them. And that's the legacy I want to be. I'm tired of people saying that they're impossible. They're very much achievable. We need the leadership that has the connections, that has been in the role, that knows people how to get things done. We need someone that's ready for day one to inflict change, not day 30. The one thing we don't want to have is at the end of the term be, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. It's I did this and I did that, and not at the end looking back and saying, I wish I could have done better, because I know we will do good, and that's what I want our legacy to be, and I know we can achieve it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you both very much for that. So now we'll turn to the audience for questions.
Connor, I need to speak, brother. I need to speak on this one. No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay.
That's right.
I think I was laughing because Marilyn and I discussed this exact thing before forming the party, as what will be, if we get elected, if our party gets elected, what will we do that students will remember, okay, that this student government was known for these things. And I think the answer was pretty clear. It was just solving current student problems until we run out of problems. So that would be our goal as next year, is to tackle and convey every single problem that students are facing right now. We don't think of as much as what future looks like, but it's like what students are facing today, the problems we can counter today, how many emails we can send to faculty, how many personal meetings we can have. So I can personally speak to this, that if elected, our legacy will be the hardest working student government that in the history of student government. President Omar and our student government has set a great example this year by going above and beyond in solving student issues. But it's really crossing and like just crossing that benchmark and just going above and more beyond to make sure that we represent the students as best as we can. And we bring every single student voice to the table and represent their concerns and solve them, because we can represent them to the best of our ability. But if we didn't solve the problem, what did we do? So that will be our legacy as student government who solve the problems that we aim to and we vow to.
All right, thank you both. Now we will go to the audience for some questions. So being as we're pushing 50 minutes on this, probably open up for somewhere for 10 to 15 minutes or so for audience questions. Biggest thing is all questions must be directed at both candidates. Anything specific about one party's platform or things like that, you're best going to that person at a separate time, maybe to ask those questions. So we will start to tap into that. All right, so we'll just kind of start at the top and go down. From Alex would be the first one. The national conversation about moving forward with COVID-19 has universities around the country planning for the possibility of even fall courses being all online. Should that be the case at MSU, what role do you see student government playing without being physically on campus? So Dhaval, we'll start with you.
Perfect. I think that's a great question, Alex. I think we've been really realistic with our platform. With the Corona situation, we also put out a statement about this situation and what we would hope this situation turns out. I'm well aware that the fall courses might be online. A couple of my senators discussed this, and I think the best way that we see student government helping students is by first taking care of their basic needs. Andrew Trenne and Anissa Omar worked really hard to get the payments to international students done. And we also saw that within the last few days, a campaign got started, which is Remember Us Too, that aimed at reducing the cost of tuition, housing, and all the other things. We want to make sure that we support these issues where students are really facing the crisis of basic needs. Once we solve that, we can go past to see how we can increase the quality of our classes offered. Because I'll be realistic, and I've seen students just reaching out and saying, and my friends slacking out on their classes just because you're online. And I think there needs to be a solution to that. And one way I see is just by having more like group calls where support sessions where students can really interact with each other, because the problem is interactions of students not being able to interact and just being in their home and watching Netflix all day. So those are the issues that we see are tangible, and we can solve them by student government facilitating more Zoom calls in the student body, and just by reaching out to specific communities that face specific issues and solving them. So that is what our vision is for the next year, if the classes are online.
All right, Andrew.
Yes, so COVID-19 has become a very big issue. President Omar and I have already been meeting on a weekly basis with high-level administrators, whether that be President Davenport, Dr. Jones, the Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, Matt Cecil, and we've been really pushing for the possibility of what it's like for next year if COVID-19 makes us go online. We've been talking to a lot of academic affairs vice presidents about how faculty treat students in their classrooms, increasing the technology training for faculty, because the biggest issue students are facing right now is that faculty are taking a lot of their frustrations out on the students, and that's holding us back and hurting student success. So we want to continue that conversation with administration, as well as the cost of what it's going to be to go to online next year. A lot of these classes are going to be online, and does that mean the online differential is going to be applied? We want to make sure that's not applied because it's not our choice to take an online class. So we want to keep pushing that. We've had a lot of meetings with administration about international students specifically. We're working right now to do a program from student government on how to deliver food to international students who may not have a secure route of food. So it's working with those connections and helping ensure that there are resources for students and help advocate the highest level of the university issues students are facing, whether that be with faculty, whether that be with their tuition payments, whether that be with Zoom technology issues. Our student government this year, our PR and marketing coordinator, Andrew Weinzerl, got the laptops for students. He got the 150 laptops that students can rent. That came from student government. That came from him. That came from the cabinet this year. That didn't come from anyone else but us. And I think we need to keep promoting that connection with administration to ensure that we need to have better connections and resources for students in this time we're struggling as students going online.
Awesome. Thank you both for that. Next question I see from Emma. What is your specific plan of action to help make parking more affordable for students? Andrew, I believe this one's for you first.
Yeah, so I've been on the Parking and Transportation Advisory Committee now for 3 years. I was on my freshman, sophomore, and now this year. So that's a committee made up of administration, labor unions, and students that do the decisions. It doesn't come from student government on how parking is done. It comes from that committee in which the president appoints. And I've known those issues for 3 years, and I've made those connections with the people on that committee to actually do the change. It's hard to make change when you don't know who the person is in charge of that committee, you don't know the people on that committee, you're going to be learning from day one on how to do them and how to talk to people and how to get the issues that students care about. The platforms that we advocate for as parking is expanding the free lot, removing faculty from the free lot because it's a student free lot. That's the title of it. We also want to advocate for lower permit prices, as well as getting rid of the, they're moving residential parking to $1.50 next year for weekends. So we want to remove that barrier for students. And I think knowing the connections, working with that committee, knowing the people in charge of parking, and having those connections for the past 3 years is what's going to push the platforms forward. I don't have to rebuild those connections. I know those connections and I've worked with them for years. And I'm afraid, and I know we're very dedicated to ensuring that parking is free and lowered for students. And I know we have those abilities to implement the change right now, not next April, for example.
Awesome, thank you. Dhaval. Your mic is still muted.
Right there, you see, technological accessibility issues. So 3 things that we have mentioned in our parking platform that we have spearheaded the change of is first, having the ability to, first of all, reduce the cost of parking passes by offering early bird discounts. Second is by increasing the time on the meter that we have, and the third is by ability to track those parking spots. The reason that will help the students is, first of all, just reduce the price of it. I think student government, just like Andrew said, has a parking committee that individuals sit on. So by appointing individuals that are really passionate about the issue, which our entire party is, and ability to represent student concerns to decrease those prices can really help students to pay low-end parking passes. The one thing that I would like to expand on is the how will we track parking spots? I was a senator for 2 years at the University of Toledo, and what we did there was you put sensors in the parking lots, and through that, the students were able to see what parking spots are open in their designated parking spaces through an app, I think, and it was done through a budget of $6,000. I think we can do that here. I was on the committee that did that, and by utilizing these changes and reforms that have been brought at different institutions to solve similar problems that have been faced by similar institutions is really the right way to go, because we have a precedent. And it's really working with the administrators like Mr. Cowan, who I've met a lot of times now and have a great relationship with, to solve these issues. I mean, I'm not saying it'll be an easy task, but at the same time, I believe in that our party has the teamwork and the determination to fulfill their promise and reduce the cost of parking passes. So that is our specific plan to address the parking issues.
Awesome, thank you both for that. So, next question. Hello, I'm a part of Sigma Chi fraternity, and I want to know, how do you wish to partner with Greek Life as student government president? Also, what are your plans and goals for Greek housing? Because Greek housing has been a plan for a while, and how will you help Greek housing move forward? Dhaval, I believe this one's on you. Your mic again.
Oh my, who mutes me all the time? I don't mute myself. Is that you, Hunter? That's crazy. I think, well, Sigma Chi, is that Win? Oh, okay, Mr. Win. I think one of our senators is from that fraternity. His name is Jack Wheeler. So you can definitely talk to him too to address this specific question. We have talked this in the party, and what we have, the solution to that is by involving Greek life in student government at a point, because I know the issue of Greek housing has been brought up ample amount of times now. The university also has a 10-year plan in which they intend to address this issue. It's just pushing it forward and really making sure that it comes on the list of issues that are being addressed now, which is next year. So our goal is to have a meeting of every single Greek leader with the university administration. Actually, we have a thing called Meet and Confer that happens every once a month at the end of each week. I've attended that multiple times with different student government leaders, and it's really bringing the Greek life to that table and just asking the right questions to the right people and bringing an answer to it. like I said, we have Greek members in our organization, so it's just utilizing that effort to make sure that our Greek life is prospering on this campus, because it's been a really widespread issue within the Greek life that the members are the recruitment is not as good as it used to be. So it's really addressing those concerns to spread more awareness, because it is a fraternity of boys and girls that really believe in making lifelong relationships and achieving academic excellence. So we want to make sure that we continue towards that effort where we get more Greek life members and solve the issue of on-campus housing.
Hey, Andrew?
Yes, so for what student government will do if we are elected to support Greek life, I've had a lot of conversations with both fraternity and sororities on what they want to see from student government, and the number one answer has been we want to see student government participation not only in Mavathon, but continuing the partnership with ULead, which is something we're very committed to doing, because I think Mavathon is a big thing Greek life puts on and gets a lot of money for the community, the Mankato community, and we want to keep pushing that for not only student government but the student body, because it's a great thing to do. For the Greek Housing Initiative specifically, I've talked to a lot with our party. We actually have three Greek people on our party. Wynn's one of them. And we've talked a lot about what we can do to support them, and there has been conversations in the past about it with the university and Greek life. We want to formalize that process instead of having an informal conversation, because that comes up every year. Yes, it does. This year specifically, though, the university is buying a plot of land near the university that they don't know what they're going to do with it. And this is something we can keep pushing as Greek life, as student government, to implement. It doesn't have to be a thing we just throw on a platform. There's things happening right now that we can do to help them. And yeah, so we're here to support them fully. And I've had those conversations with them. And we're here to advocate for them day one for that issue.
Awesome. Thank you both very much. Next question. What have you already done to help keep textbooks affordable and accessible for students? Andrew, this one's on you.
So textbook affordability has been a big thing I ran on last year, and we've actually answered that call. We've expanded the MAV Textbook Reserve Program. For those that don't know, it's a program student government puts on and has money for from Barnes & Noble that buys textbooks that you can check out for a 2-hour period in the library. We've expanded the course offerings to include most general education courses, and if elected, we want to fully keep pushing more courses than just that. The biggest issue has also been advertising that. So definitely we want to keep promoting that with the Dean of Library and Learning, Chris Corley. On top of that, textbook affordability has been a wider conversation on campus with OER. The biggest issue is not the accessibility of OER, it's that the faculty a lot of the times don't want to use OER and are hesitant to the change of OER. So that's the biggest issue facing OER. And then the other thing is that we've been pushing, me and the current president, is that if, it may be a textbook, but it's also an access code is the biggest barrier that we also count as textbook affordability. And we've been really pushing the fact that if a faculty member is using Cengage for their classroom, like an online class, why are we paying the online differential if we're using Cengage, which is just another $200 access code to a thing we already pay for in our online differentials? And we've been pushing that all year, and the provost has been really receptive, and we've been really working hard on that. We want to continue if elected, and we will be up until the end of the year, because it's truly something we're very passionate about and willing to advocate for. So it's more than just textbooks; it's also digital. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Dhaval?
The question is by Ryan Welford. Hello, Ryan. I ran as a senator. I ran on the platform of making the residential halls more accessible, and we've done a considerable amount of work in doing that. But I would like to highlight here the efforts from different senators to make textbooks more affordable. We had a senator who made sure that the textbooks that are available in the library, there are more amount of them, and our student government pushed so that every professor in the university lists their textbook before the period of registration closes, so the students can know what textbook they'll specifically be using. Those are the things that student government this year did that I was definitely supportive of. Our committee, the Student Affairs Committee, pushed in a lot of that. I know Senator Fatima Muhammad who made sure that students from this year, the textbooks that are being used can also be used by and transferred to the students of the next semester. who would be taking those classes. So I specifically did not focus on this issue, but our party's platform next year will focus on the issue which I'm running on right now, which definitely addresses the issue that Andrew mentioned. The thing is using open access resources, like moving from the professors that use, for example, Cengage or McGraw-Hill publications. There are a lot of different publications that are available online, which are free of cost that the professors can be using. One of my management and marketing professors use open access, and they were just as satisfied with the result and the quality that they delivered. So it's just encouraging professors by reaching out to FIU and presenting the breadth and the width of the open access era, which is freely available on the internet. So, and library also offers courses on open access. So it's really using the resources we have right now to reduce the cost of textbooks for students, so that is not an extra burden, whether online or in class. So that is our platform, and that is the specific things that we try to address to do. So yeah.
Okay, next question. There has been a steep increase in the recent years of students utilizing our mental health services. What do you plan to do as president to continue to facilitate those rising needs? Dhaval, this one's on you.
Absolutely. So like I mentioned, our data on the mental health appointments in the counseling center, 3 things that we definitely want to do that will alleviate the concern of mental health is, first, institute a mental health day. What I mean by that is having a policy in the syllabus in place where students can take a day off whenever they're not feeling well mentally. What that would look like is they'll inform their professor about their issue, and the professor will take proactive steps to connect that student with the counseling center. Because we thought of this policy, and it's really doable because we talked with different key stakeholders that will be a part of doing this. One of the important things is why we did that is because the one place that students will go at MSU is their class. And impacting a policy that will take place in classes will really change the mental health perspective. I also mentioned we met with different organizations. One of that is increasing the appointments offered by counseling center. They offer 10 appointments right now, but we have heard concerns that most students run out of those appointments. So bumping that up to at least 15, so students can have 1 appointment every single week so they can see their counselor. And the third is instituting a mental health course. Right now, the university currently has a drug and alcohol abuse course, and we want to see if we can implement a mental health course as well with that, which students can take and can really benefit and see what mental health is and how can we keep up with it.
Thank you very much. Andrew?
So Empower Mavericks, understands that mental health isn't just a one-day occurrence, it's an everyday occurrence for students. We have a lot of people on our party that care about this issue. And some of the things we want to advocate for is, yes, appointment times for people, increasing that is an issue. But the bigger issue is the amount of counselors we have. They're not meeting the needs of students. There needs to be more. There's actually a national organization that recommends more for all college campuses. It's supposed to be proportionate to the student body. And right now we don't meet that. And we want to push to that to meet that need and meet that requirement, because that is the bigger issue than just having more appointments. It's about having more counselors to have that, not just the amount that you can have. We also want to advocate for the creation of a mental health bill of rights and responsibilities. After looking at other universities, they have this specific thing that it's basically university saying, we're responsible for doing this. Here's our commitment to you as students, and we're going to follow this. And that's something we want to create that is written down. And that we can point to if they're not meeting our needs, or if they're ignoring our demands as for our mental health, because we do go through a lot in our daily lives. We have school, we have work, we have our home life. We just need to be there to support students, and we want to keep pushing that university to be doing that. And I think our party is better equipped and more knowledgeable on the issues to actually inflict that change day one and right away next year, because it's something I've cared about for a long time, and we'll keep doing that.
Awesome. Thank you to you both. What are the specific roles that the president has outlined by the student government constitution? Andrew?
Yeah, so after serving a term as the vice president, I'm able to kind of, I would say, almost mentor underneath our current president, who's done a fantastic job. So a lot of the job is appointing people to committees, but also going to those meetings. And I think with the appointment power that we have to appoint people to committees, you need to be strategic about it. Obviously, if it's a committee that is not, like if it's a parking issue, you want to put the best people in there to speak for students. You also want to make sure that there's adequate diversity in committee appointments. For example, you know, we want to make sure that our fee committees have a wider range of students on that committee, not just the same people from the same organizations, which will greatly improve what students are thinking and want as students. And especially as Students United, we'd be serving as the board director for Students United, and that's the big statewide student association that advocates to not only the system level, but state and federal. And, you know, they go to the federal lobby day, they go to the state lobby day, they have meetings where they can put things on the state platform. And I have the experience, I've gone there for 3 years. I know a lot of people. Arnavee, my running mate, is the current campus coordinator for Students United. She's worked on the campus level with Students United, and I've kind of shadowed under Anissa for Students United this year. And I think we're better equipped to meet those needs as president day one.
Thank you very much. Dhaval?
One thing we did as a party was the first meeting where we read the entire Constitution. And one thing which was realized by me when I met President Omar, when I informed that I'll be running for the candidacy. According to the Constitution, the main job, the president serves as the chief administration officer and is responsible for appointing the president's cabinet, meet and confer board, different committees. They're also responsible for making sure that alongside the speaker that the meetings are run smoothly and everybody's voice is uniformly heard. I think that is what the Constitution says. What it means to us is bring everybody's voice at the table. We realize that diversity is our value, and we want to focus on inclusion. So by having our party, which already is diverse and represents a lot of student leaders on this campus, just bringing them all on the table and finding the right fit for their committees, a lot of the responsibility lands on the shoulders of the senators that want to be a part of those committees and show interest, and then just me matchmaking them to their favorite committees and see where they can serve the best and to the fullest of their ability. So it's just my vision as president is our party to succeed and represent student concerns, but that will only happen if the senators work just as hard as we do. And that is what the president does, and that is what we'll do as a part of next year's Maverick Movement.
Thank you both. Looking at that next question, it seems kind of like that one's directed at Dhaval with his idea that you're talking about with the tracking and kind of the parking and that. So whoever asked that question.
I don't think it's directed. Yeah, I think that's good because there's any change with parking is going to cost money. I think that's a good question to ask.
Yeah.
So what I was going to do is kind of deferring from the specific, the tracking and things like that. But if it's okay with both the candidates, specifically like the proposals you've made to parking in general, where would that money come from? Not specifically the tracking idea. I think is kind of the idea. So how I'll ask the question is, how would you propose your parking to the Parking and Transportation Committee, and where would you draw funds from? Is it Dhaval?
Yeah, I can answer that because I was proposing that. The things we have discussed in our party are definitely taking the proposal that was successfully done at the University of Toledo and bringing it here and making the changes that fit MSU, because no one size fits all. So it's definitely tailoring that towards the community here. There are advantages that students can definitely take benefit of, which is by just having a parking app that they can see, okay, these many parking spots are open in these many lots, because a lot of concerns are regarding students not being able to find a parking spot before their classes start because every lot gets filled so quickly. We'll present this proposal to David Cowan. One thing that we definitely want to say is the proposal that the UT costed about $6,000. That money came from student fees that were passed in the budget of the parking commission. The cost will definitely be less at MSU because MSU has less students. UT has about 25,000. MSU has about 14,000. So the cost will be less. At the same time, the money has to come from somewhere. The burden will be on student fees if that money doesn't come from the carryover that parking already has. And we definitely have to look into, because this year when we passed the budget, we took about 16 to 25,000 from the reserve that we had. And since this is something new, the money will come from the reserve. At least that is the expectation. And there won't be a increase in student fees just because of the specific, the tracking option that we are proposing. So to bring it in a nutshell, the money won't be included in the tuition of students. The money will be from the reserve that the university already has. It will be a cost that, yeah, the reserve will face for that one time.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Andrew?
So everything Empowering Mavericks is advocating for parking does not increase the cost of parking. You know, a lot of things like attracting parking spots, you know, that will add a cost to student fees, as mentioned. And so we're here, you know, you can't advocate for freezing parking permits if you're also advocating for things that will increase the cost of parking in general. Right now, there's $1 million deficit in the parking budget. So there are no reserves. Their university reserves aren't available for this either. COVID-19 is really taking a hit in the university reserves. They're putting $450,000 in MathPass. They're putting $180,000 in parking permit refunds. They're putting in money for study abroad programs. They're putting in money to help theater, athletics. So there is no reserves to use and implement these programs. So it's hard to advocate for a parking permit freeze if you're also advocating for increasing costs. And we've done that. You know, things like moving faculty out of the free lot is something we can do. Rihanna Stiff, our at-large senator, has successfully advocated for in the creation of a discount early bird price for the orange lot. So we have people in our party that have done things that are free and that won't increase the cost, as mentioned already. And so we're willing to take the free route and get a lot of things done that are quick and easy. And we have been doing them, and we will continue doing them if elected. Because, you know, parking is a thing every student will use or go through on campus. And we want to ensure that our parking lots are good. There's no holes that your car will get injured in or damaged in. We want to ensure that there's that for every student and not increasing the costs in student fees, as mentioned before.
Awesome. Thank you to you both. Next question. As student government, what approach will you take against the assaults that have become more common on campus? Andrew?
Wait, I don't see this question.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of the chat.
Okay, so one thing we'll do, I assume there's sexual assaults or just assaults in general, is one thing we've been pushing out for student government for a while is a couple things actually. You know, we want to provide more resources to not only residential life people, but also security and other students that come to this university. We also want to expand blue light poles. That's been a big thing that students have been pushing for each year. But, you know, I have a good working relationship with Sandy Schneinberg. She's the director of security, and as well as other administrators that we can see more blue light poles. We can see more resources and dedication to this topic because it is a big thing. You can actually see how many crimes occur on this campus by just going to the security website. And our goal is to do everything possible to work and implement change that will reduce that number and provide more education to people. Because that is a big thing and a big concern that all college campuses have. And we want to work to address that and continue that conversation for all students.
All right. Dhaval?
Party has pledged is more education, because most times the issue here is students, the assaults that have been done by students are not reported, and I think more care needs to be taken for the victims, and they need to know that these are the resources available to them, because as the stats from the Title IX office states, only 4 out of 10 assaults are reported. So it's really bringing that number up as a part of our administration and making sure that a lot of care is provided to these victims. I think our university has done we looked to the process of what happens when incident is reported, and it's a pretty solid procedure that the university follows. So our job is just making sure there's more activism regarding those cases, and not the details, but but what I'm trying to say here is just making sure that people know that this is the office that advocates specifically for students who are facing these difficulties. So it's really making sure that students who face these issues are connected to these office, and we definitely consider assaults as a big issue, and it shouldn't happen. on any campus, but if it does, we need to have more activism, and we need to make sure that every single office takes considerable steps to meet the requirements and needs of the students, because a lot of times there's a big mental trauma faced by these victims and assailants as well. So it's like making sure the counseling center steps in and they're offered the adequate amount of mental health and mental and academic help by their professors and the counselors.
Perfect. All right, final question for you too. Food insecurity is something often talked about on campus, with a recent study saying that 2/3 of students at MNSU have at some point experienced food insecurity to some degree on campus. What do you hope to do to combat this issue? I believe this one starts with Dhaval.
That's right. So I emailed Ms. Anderson 2 days ago about this specific issue about food insecurity and homelessness. So we have numbers on food insecurity. Thankful to Senator Kara Swersel, who worked a lot on this issue in the past student government. What we need to make sure is student government puts efforts into marketing and advocating for our campus kitchen that we have. I pledged to Ms. Anderson that senators in student government need to do 6 office hours. We will do 3 of those at the campus kitchen every single week and help pack food for the needy students. So that is something that I wrote in the email, and we definitely intend on doing these and taking these specific actions to make sure that the food insecurity is handled well. I would also like to address the issue of homelessness. The university doesn't have, nor do we have any numbers, the current numbers on homelessness. We need to do new surveys and get the new numbers and make sure that we have specific procedures for homelessness in place, that may be giving them a temporary shelter in our residence halls. That depends on what the new survey looks like, but our student government will work on that and get the concern solved regarding specific to food insecurity and homelessness, because when students come here to study, they shouldn't suffer through crisis of basic needs. And that's what the conversation between our party and Cindy Jin, who's the director of Rest Life, looked like. We talked about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and food and shelter are one of the basic needs that every student needs. So we need to work on that to get that solved.
All right, thank you, Dhaval. Andrew.
So food insecurity, I've been working on food insecurity all year. Not in the last couple of months, but all year. Whether that's been through our annual food drive we did this year that raised more food for the food insecurity initiatives that we have on campus. We've also gotten up and I've hosted and implemented the Student Basic Needs Committee that was formed last year to truly advocate for that change for food and housing insecurity. And from that conversation, we really pushed, me and Kara Swersel, who is our Res Life Senator, really pushed not only swipe out hunger, but also talking about what we can do right now, such as hosting a food pantry in the student government office. That came from us this year and something we're going to be doing next year. We've also been pushing the university to help contribute more to that initiative, whether that be through a faculty donation system, whether that be through Swipe Out Hunger, supporting that. We've gone the extra mile in advocating for this issue, and obviously, it's still a long-term conversation, because you can't just talk about it for 1 year and then drop it the next, and you really need that dedication to keep advocating for that change. We've also had conversations with our state legislators to hopefully get into law a grant for a food pantry on campus, and that's something we've really been hitting home with Senator Nick Frentz, and Representative Jeff Brand is actually giving us the university money to do this, because the biggest issue with the food and housing insecurity is the cost of it. And if they get a specific grant for that, they're able to implement it right away and not trying to find university money elsewhere. And so if we get elected, we're really looking forward to continuing that with our state senator and state representative, because that's something we can easily accomplish and continue doing through these programs, and promoting them to students is another big thing that we want to keep doing.
Fantastic. So that's about the end of it for the questions for the presidential candidates. So you will both have 2 minutes to kind of give some closing remarks or statements or anything you want to kind of end off with. And then we'll be shifting over to VP. So Andrew, we'll start with you.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming. I know, a lot of people may have class or may have work, but truly seeing this amount of participation in an online format is something that I'm very happy and excited about. I just want to say that Empower Mavericks is here to serve all students. We really want to empower and be the change next year, and we want to continue having the conversations we've had this year, whether that be textbook affordability, college affordability in general, food and housing insecurity, parking, international students, and COVID-19 is a big issue. We'll be having a town hall right after this, probably about 2 o'clock, 2:15, to talk specifically about that COVID-19 is a long-term impact on students, not just over the summer, not just next fall. It's going to be a whole year occurrence, even more than just 1 year, whether that be through having emergency grants, rent reduction, you name it. We're trying to advocate the best of our ability to students. We'll also be having a website pop up in the next day or two. With our website, it'll be a website with our platforms and who's running in our party. We're really excited to keep pushing that because I truly believe that whatever we're advocating for in our platform is something that we've experienced this year and we know we can advocate for it and get it done next year. They're not something just to be put on a platform to get votes. I've been in this role for a year. My running mate's also been in this role for a year, and we've been serving students for this past year. And we know these are things we can accomplish, and they're not some things we're just going to add at the last minute just to try to get some votes. So we're really excited and really gung-ho about what we're going to be doing for students next year. And we hope that you'll be voting for us because we know we can inflict that change, and we can really make our school something really better for every student this year, next year, and the years to come. Thank you.
All right, Dhaval.
I also want to start by thanking people to take their time. I hope that you were able to learn more about both of our parties. We're able to take really key voter points that were important to you. Uh, we believe that the pandemic will lay a long-term effect on students, but at the same time, we are confident in our ability to create a big community when the classes do start back in the fall. If you're elected, if you're not, regardless, I wanna make sure that we are pushing for the issues that matter, that we can definitely solve over the course of next year. Like I said, these things that we have been tackling on, those are everyday issues that students are facing, and there is no reason why we can't solve it in 8 months, because we have given you the simple way that this can be done, and we have given you the facts. So it's really up to you to make that decision. But at the same time, we have pledged that we'll work for students day and night and make sure that everybody is accessible. This opportunity means a lot to us, and we want to make the best out of it so that we can be, our legacy is casted as the most hardest working student government, and the student government that was known to represent the student leaders because a lot of them were a part of it. So that is my closing remarks. Hopefully you had something to take out of this. You have a good day.
Awesome. Thank you to you both. So, presidents, you're both presidential candidates. You're both off the hook. I know maybe this is going a little bit slower than it has been in years past, but we're kind of trying to make adaptations and kind of figure this out so we can still go through this formal process. So I believe we should still have both the VP candidates with us. I can see Marilyn and V. I saw I was sitting with Andrew. So John, I know you're still kind of working and typing questions. I'm looking at the questions we had prepared and the ones that were pretty much right in line with the presidents. I think, you know, when it comes to a lot of that stuff, the answers are going to line up similarly because obviously they're running as a pair. So thinking about maybe directing these ones a little bit more towards the VP candidates and some of the more VP specific roles. So if you're following along on your sheets, which I'm sure you got the same one I do, looking at A, B, C, and then F, G, J, and K. Will be the questions we'll kind of be asking them. Give me a quick little, if that works for you.
Yes.
Perfect.
Let me go back to that document because I just emailed the commissioners with the questions and theirs are differently numbered now. So I'm going to go back to that document then.
Okay. Perfect.
A, B, C.
A, B, C, F, G.
And K.
Then, yeah, we'll do K.
Okay. Got it.
Perfect. All right. So we'll kind of go over again. So this is going to work pretty much the same way it did with the presidential candidates. So we'll kind of start with a simple little coin toss. Arnavee, you'll be heads. Marilyn, you'll be tails. It was heads. So Arnavee, would you like to go first or second?
I'll go second.
Okay. So Marilyn, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. So you each have 3 minutes for a little candidate introduction and any opening remarks you want to make. I'll do the same thing with whenever you got 1 minute left. So whenever you're ready to go.
Okay, before I begin, I would like to do a land recognition. So today's meeting is held on the Dakota Sioux Nation homelands. My name is Marilyn Allen. I'm an enrolled tribal member of the Flandreau Santee Sioux tribe in Flandreau, South Dakota. I am also the founder and president of the Wachi Dakota Kichie, which is our powwow committee. First year here on campus at MSU. I'm also the vice president of the Native American Student Association. I am also a member of the cross country and track team. I just started this year. I am a junior and I am an American Indian Studies major with a minor in business law.
Perfect. V?
Hello everyone, my name is Arnavee Maltare. I am currently a junior and an international student from India. My major is Management and Information Systems and Finance. I am currently serving as a senator at large for student government. I'm also a member of CSU board. I am currently serving as the chair for Library and Bookstores Committee, and I'm also the president of Student Association of India. I am the campus coordinator for Students United and student worker for CSU Administration Office and Aska Friend Desk. I've been working on diversity specifically, and I have been serving for students and advocating for them.
Perfect. So we won't waste any time. We'll get right into questions here soon. So similarly, you have 2 minutes to answer each question. I'll still give you the 1 minute signal, and we'll be starting with Arnavee. So you can see the question there in the chat that John's posted. But in your own words, what does being student government vice president mean to you?
So being student government vice president means advocating for students and bringing their voices to the table as much as you can. That has been my main goal current year and in future as well. Being a vice president also means creating a bridge between the authorities and the students around campus and ensuring that the campus becomes a good place for students to learn more and more inclusive for students around. Serving as the if I become the vice president, I feel like I would be able to do that at a higher level, and being a vice president would enable me to serve them at a higher level and give me more resources to make sure their voices are heard.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Marilyn?
Yeah, so what student government vice president means to me is being that I'm Native American, and being Native American, we make up 1% of the population in the world. So we don't really have like the opportunity to be at the table, our voices to be heard. And so for me, that's always been my goal, is to make sure that all voices are heard. It doesn't matter what background we come from, what culture, financial stability, anything like that. It's just your voice needs to be heard. And I know that I can make that happen for every student. I've been in every position as a student, before I was a student athlete, before I was involved in anything. And now being where I am with all the RSOs I'm working with and being so involved, I know that I can help any student get to that same point and get their voice on the table.
Fantastic. Thank you both. Next question there is in the chat. I'll read it out loud again. Why are you interested in and qualified for this position, and why do you believe you are the best candidate? Marilyn?
I'm interested and qualified for this position. Interested solely just because I haven't done this before. I'm totally new to it, but with the last year, I've been involving myself and picking up leadership roles. But like my previous experience throughout high school and throughout my college years here, I have been picking up these leadership roles. I represented my tribe there's 562 tribes in the in the U.S., and I was picked to go to the White House, and that was where I met Senator Byron Dorgan, General Attorney Eric Holder, President Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama, former Vice President Joe Biden, where I spoke with them and learned how to be a leader in a diverse nation. So I would like to bring those same qualities and bring them here and use them throughout this whole next school year.
Perfect. Arnavee?
First of all, why am I interested in this position is because I am a student, and I want to make sure students get the experience and not the bad one which I might have faced. So this makes me motivated to work towards being the vice president and serving them. And why am I qualified for this position? So as mentioned, I'm a junior. I've worked in the school for past 3 years in different levels of RSOs. I've seen what issues they face and what needs to be worked on. I feel like I've established enough relationships around campus to ensure that students, and to solve students' issues and their problems around campus and make sure their voices are heard. I also want to make sure students are able to represent themselves in a better way around campus, and make sure we are able to serve them in a better way.
Awesome. Thank you both for your answers. John, thank you for continuing to type them. It makes things a lot easier for everyone else. So move on to the next question. So explain your understanding of how you see student government fitting into the university structure and how you see yourself helping it to fulfill that role. So Arnavee.
I feel like student government represents the student. It is the face for the students. And I feel like student government is a liaison between students and authorities, for sure. Students from different communities and different areas need to be represented at the student government table so that they fit in the structure in a better way and make sure they're able to represent themselves. I also feel like student government is successfully doing this for the current year, and I want to continue that for the future years as well. I want to make sure students are able to represent themselves. We have different areas covered in our party currently as well. I'm trying to reach out to more people so that they can share their voices and explain what issues do they face around.
Awesome. Marilyn, to you.
Yeah, student government fits into the university structure because, as we all say, the voice is the people. You always want to work for the people and get their needs. We live in a democracy, and so we should fulfill it the same way in that way. In my experience, I want to make it increase the transparency between professors, the administration, and students. I've been in the position where I felt I couldn't speak to them and that on a personal level or address any kind of issues in that way. But if I could be anything like current student government, Anissa Omar, she has been such a great help, and being always an open ear and just listening to the students and getting those issues to attention, I think we could definitely make this work.
All right, thank you both. Question 4. What do you believe is the biggest issue facing MSU students, and how do you plan to address that issue? So Marilyn, we'll start with you when you're ready.
One thing that I've discussed with students is the mental health services. Right now, there is a high demand for it. Not a lot of professionals or time periods able to go and speak with these professionals, and it is hard to get in there. So one thing that my running mate Dhaval and I are working on is increasing the hours or even getting a mental health day to take time to step back and look at what the students might need to work on for themselves.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Arnavee?
I actually don't think any of the issue is smaller, because if I feel some issue is smaller, it can be a bigger thing for someone else. But there's something I can relate to, that is international health insurance, because I have had personal experiences with it, and I have had friends who have personal experiences with it. I have been working currently for international health insurance for students, and ensuring to make sure that they have more resources available around the campus to to work on to to get accessibility. I do feel like students international healthcare would be an important issue, because people from different countries or different areas might have might have a different viewpoint on it, but in the US it is a totally different scenario. Other than that, I feel like food insecurity is one of the biggest issue around the campus as well, that we have been working on. We have been able to work on it current year as well, with the help of Swipe Out Hunger, with Senator Swarsel, who's running with us as well right now. I hope to establish and do something more for the future year about it.
Perfect. Thank you both very much. This next one's a bit of a long one, so if you need to take your time to kind of think about it and process it a little bit before you answer, to absolutely take your time. Don't feel rushed at all, but we'll kind of get into it. According to the Student Government Constitution, the Vice President is responsible for advertising, recruiting, and monitoring cabinet, board, commission, and committee vacancies. With the vast number of positions on such vacancies common, how will you address this duty, and how will you hold senators accountable for their committee duties? So I believe it starts with Arnavee, and whenever you're ready.
So to address the duty of senators and holding them accountable, we have a committee called Ethics and Standards. I would ensure that they would work and follow their duties. I would make sure that the senators do fulfill their responsibilities, and I would try to maintain the professionalism between friendships or personal relationships, and not to come in my work. And other than that, ethics and standards should follow their rules and responsibilities. I would keep weekly updates of the senators about what they're doing and what their projects are, and get their updates on what work has been accomplished till now.
Thank you very much. Marilyn?
Oh, yeah. So I have experience to be formal and have a warm voice at the same time. I've always liked being able to connect with the people I'm working with. I have worked, before I even began with the student organizations, with my 2 RSOs that I'm in, with the Native American Student Organization and with the Powell Committee. I would go out of my way to be a part of the Somali Student Association, the Asian Students in America, the Hmong Student Association, Black Motivated Women, Black Student Union, reaching out to these different organizations before even being in a leadership role has helped me be able to connect with different student orgs and different cultures and different voices and stuff, and just listening to how they interact with each other, and being able to take some of their issues and then bring them to the table and just come together as a group. Recently we just did that, and I could probably talk about that in another question, but yeah, so just being able to connect with students and make sure that their voices are heard is definitely important to me.
Okay, perfect. Moving on to the next question. The topic of diversity and inclusion continues to be discussed on today's college campuses. What will you do to help all students feel welcome and like they can have their voices heard? Marilyn, this one starts with you.
Yeah, so one thing that my running mate Dhaval and I have talked about is setting up areas on campus for not only ourselves, but also for our senators, just to be there once a week, posted for a couple hours at a time, letting students know where we're at. They can come talk to us, address some of the issues that they have. Like I said, I come from a really small community. I've seen it all. I've been through it all. I've been in the shoes of not feeling like I can talk to someone. So I definitely know how to have a welcoming voice and how to listen to people and being like just an open person and listening to students. And like I said before, like before I was a student athlete, I felt like I wasn't heard. And with being a student athlete now, I feel like I can talk more about that before I was a student athlete and how I am now, and also before I was in leadership roles. So I definitely see both sides, and I have been involved with all different walks of life on campus. So I am definitely prepared to be an open ear to students on campus.
Awesome. Arnavee?
As Andrew mentioned before, we advocate with the students, not for the students. So since majority of my projects have been on diversity and inclusion for the current year, I feel like I would be able to represent the communities around the campus in a much better way than I've been doing it. I've established relationships with different centers around the campus. I've been working on international student healthcare with Kearney International Center. I've been working on women in global leadership with Women's Center. I've been trying to work on some projects with Multicultural Center to represent the minority communities and bring their voices on the table. I feel like I have, in the past 3 years, I have established relationships to ensure a good connection between the people around the campus and to ensure that their voices are heard. I feel like I would be able to work on it since my current projects have been on women empowerment, on inclusion, and on diversity overall.
Perfect. Thank you both. We have one more prepared question, and then after this question, we'll move to the audience. So the final question is, what do you want your legacy to be after your term? Arnavee?
I've been working around campus. I feel like that would be something to keep on advocating for the students and make sure their voices are heard. My legacy would be to keep on representing students around the campus and making sure their voices are heard and ensuring proper resources for them in future and not face the problems that the current students might face. I also feel like Mr. Trenne has been doing a great job currently, and I feel like I need to, he has already set the bar high and I have to overcome, like I have to compete with that bar now, raise it higher.
All righty, Marilyn?
Yeah, for my legacy, I would like just for everyone to know that I am working for the people. That is one thing that I've learned from my tribe. We're a small community, like I said, so when you're in a position of leadership or in a position of being on council, you want to work for the people so that your people can trust you. You can build that relationship with them so that you feel like an actual connection. You know, on campus, we're not just a university. We're not just students, coming to learn. We're a community. We're a village. You know, there's thousands of us, but we're still close knit. And I would like to make sure that we keep that same energy and that same hospitality there as well. So not only do I want to speak for the people of students, have their voices be heard, but I also want to make sure that everyone feels that they are included and that they are heard. Yeah, I'll just go from there for now.
Awesome, thank you. I caught it that time. Thank you both very much. Those are all the prepared questions we had. So now we'll go to the audience. John, thanks again, huge help with this. So the first question we'll have will be for Marilyn first. How will you hold the president accountable, and how would this be different to holding senators accountable, if there is any difference?
This is a great question. Actually, I was part of the National Diversity Case competition in January with Dhaval. I had no idea who he was before this competition. I met him in October, and right away we clicked, and it was just a great time working with him from the whole month of December over Christmas break, working on a case study. So I am personally really close with Dhaval, and on a professional level and on a personal level. So I know holding Dhaval accountable is something I could definitely do. And keeping that different between the senators is Dhaval and I are best friends, and we're also, co-workers. And then with our senators, it'll be working the same way, but not like looking down towards them, but still having the same mutual respect to them as well. So that's what I would do.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Arnavee?
First of all, I have worked with Andrew for past 1 year now, and I feel like Andrew has a really good work ethic. But if I had to hold him as an accountable person, there would be no difference. As mentioned, I would keep the professionalism between personal relationships and work. I would keep it separate. No matter how good of a friend Andrew would be or Mr. President would be, I would hold him accountable or might send him to ethics and standards if necessary. I would take actions against anything if gone to a wrong direction from his side. There's no difference because senators are working and finishing their duties. It's the responsibility of a president to do his work on time and make sure student voices are heard. So there's no difference at all.
Awesome. Thank you both very much. Moving on to the second audience question. What are the duties of the Vice President as outlined by the Student Government Constitution? We'll start with Arnavee.
Sorry, so question is? Yeah, so since the Constitution says, it's mentioned in, I think, Article 4, Section 2, that mentions like, a vice president has to overtake the responsibilities of president if necessary, takes the role of the speaker if speaker is not in the meeting due to some reasons. The vice president is also responsible for committees and councils appointments, and that would be my duties. And if anything guided by the president to be done, I would do that. I think that are the vice president's duties, and ensuring and keeping myself updated on the duties of senators. Also, I think vice president is responsible for attending city and university meetings. That ensures the students' voices are also put on the table around the Mankato community.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Marilyn?
Yeah, the vice president role is deemed to monitor, advertise, and to recruit any commissions for our government, and to uphold any what's the word? To uphold any work that the president cannot do. I would fulfill any of his duties that he or she may not be able to accomplish during the time.
Perfect. Third audience question. What have you already done to help advocate for international students, specifically on the issue of healthcare costs? So start with Marilyn.
Yeah, Dhaval and I have been working closely to focus our party to reduce the amount of like the cost of our international students' health insurance, and we're looking at reducing those costs by working with other outside parties.
All right, Arnavee.
So for the current year, we have been in continuous conversations about health insurance for international students. I have been in meeting alongside with ISA President and Vice President, and along with President Omar. I have, and Vice President Trenne, I have also been advocating for international health insurance on a federal level. We also went to Capitol and talked with Senator Nick Friends about it. I was able to tell him my personal experience with international health insurance, and that was something that affected them, and they are willing to support us. Like in the last week, I was in a meeting with the Students United Insurance Committee, and they are willing to change the options for us. I feel like that's the most we have achieved in all these years. So I feel like I have done a really good job, and we would be able to achieve it if we serve as the president and the vice president for the coming year.
Alrighty, fourth audience question. In what ways have you advocated for our students at the state and university level? So this one starts with Arnavee.
For the current year, again, I got this opportunity to serve as the campus coordinator for an organization called Students United. They serve the Minnesota state at a federal level, and I've been able to meet with legislators and talk to them about different issues like textbook affordability, food insecurity, health insurance, Pell Grant, a lot of things. So I feel like I've been able to put the most important and pressing topics on a federal level and talk to the legislators about it. I also believe that if we serve again as the president and the vice president, we will be able to continue this conversation at a higher level. And Mr. Trenne has done a great job. Again, he has been able to help me with all of it. And along with President Omar, I have an opportunity to learn and serve the Student Senate in a better way.
Perfect. All right, Marilyn.
Yeah, at the university level, I've advocated for students, for student athletes and non-student athletes, on and off campus students. I've also been able to go to the diversity dinner for the president's cabinet, building close relationships with President Davenport and Associate Vice President. And also working with the state level, we had the American Indian Night dinner where I was able to speak with Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan and Governor Tim Walz. So I was able to have some pretty good conversations about students and their needs, not only at this dinner, but also during the Dakota 38+2 run that was held December 26th at 10 in the morning. I was able to speak with Governor Tim Walz, just talking about some diversity issues with students on campus. So that's just some of the things that I've been able to do at the university and state level.
All right, fifth audience question. As student government leaders and women in already influential roles, what is your involvement with and support to different RSOs that emphasize leadership for women on campus? And this one starts with Marilyn.
I'm glad whoever asked this question. Yeah, so I, just starting out being a leader for the 2 RSOs that I'm involved in. And I'm working closely with the Somali Student Association right now. They have this event going on. It's a letter to my daughter. And what that is empowering women to come out and just tell stories about how they're empowered as a woman, how they were brought up in life. And I think that is something that could be included for every RSO with females in it. Also working with not just females, but our transgender and cisgender women as well. Getting everybody involved in that way and just showing how empowering sisterhood and womanhood is. And I just think that if we can get this event to be broadcasted in a bigger setting, I think that could help our women on the university and in leadership roles to better flourish and strive.
All right, Arnavee?
So again, for the current year, as I mentioned, I've been serving women. I've been in a program called Women in Global Leadership. I strongly believe if you grow together. So that's my motto. I would not only just work on myself, I work on making sure everybody grows with me together and progresses towards the same goal. I feel like I've been able to work for women in global leadership in a better way and discuss about the issues that women face around school and around at a federal level as well. Along with Senator Bhusal, I've been able to plan, she's in Women Empowerment Committee, background information. We have been able to plan events around campus to make sure their voices are heard. We had a panel set for women leaders around campus along with President Omar, Sophie Waisat, who served as a CA and Roslet Senator, and a GA from Kearney International to ensure the international voices are heard as well. The next event we were planning before the COVID situation was about sexual assaults to ensure women's voices, not only women's voices, but everybody's voices are heard and to raise awareness among everybody else. This was something I've been working on and I want to work on that in future as well.
Perfect, thank you both. Sixth audience question. What current actions have been taken to help food insecure students, and how do you plan to expand on those actions? So, Arnavee.
So for current year, for food insecurity around the campus, we already have a campus kitchen, but for other than that, Senator Schwartzel, who's currently running with us, has been able to pass a motion in the Student Government Senate about swipe out hunger. For those of you who don't know what swipe out hunger is, it is people whose meal are left in the end would be able to be passed to the people who might be able to use it and ensure that there's less food insecurity and people can afford the food around. Senator Schwartzel has done a great job in it, and I want to continue and advocate for it more and put pressure on it to be promoted more on the campus. We have done a great job already for the current year again, and I might be able, and on a federal level, we have been able to advocate for food insecurity and get funds for us and make sure campus kitchen gets funds and be able to serve students in a better way.
Marilyn?
Aside from doing, a big food drive and getting everyone together to donate as much as they can and, creating fun out of it and raising food and donations in that sense, we've, Dhaval and I have looked at some different outlets. Right now, Echo Food Drive is, they have a van coming to campus where they can pick up students and they can bring them so they can get their food for the month and help them fulfill those needs in that way. We're looking at different outlets and helping increase more vans and more ways for students to get access to foods there and to, maybe try to generate more food for Echo itself and get students the food that they need. Aside from just the food itself, I've been working with a woman in the community. She does plant medicine, and if I could work with her in a sense of doing a garden to table and showing students how to, if they have access to a little plot of land, or maybe even open up a campus garden where we can, make it big enough for people to go and plant stuff and be involved in that way, and then bring it to the table and have fresh produce and stuff in that way, and also working with farmers in the local area about donating some other like meats and other produce. That would be really helpful as well.
Awesome, thank you both. It looks like that's all the questions that have been submitted. So what we'll do now is, similarly to how we ended the last one, is you'll each be given 2 minutes. Give any closing remarks or statements or anything that you kind of just want to leave your final word. You'll have 2 minutes to do so. So start with Marilyn.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you all for coming and listening to our thoughts and listen to what we have to say and being passionate about the students on campus. I hope you all stay safe throughout everything. Make sure to wash your hands, and I hope that you get everything that you need during this time. I just want to say thank you again, and I hope you consider voting the Maverick Movement. And I am looking forward to working with you guys all in the future. And best of luck to everyone.
Perfect. Thank you. Arnavee?
Once again, thank you for your precious time. You guys are awesome. As Andrew mentioned, we have been working on so much good things, awesome things. Our team is really great. They've been advocating for students at different levels, and we've been trying to do that still. And yeah, vote for empowering Mavericks. And I also feel like our platforms are something we have discussed a lot, and we have laid a groundwork for them already along with President Omar, and we would try to work on those and for something that's achievable, not just to get votes. And we have the website launching soon, so empoweringmavericks.weebly.com. Feel free to reach out for more questions and information. And I also feel we have a town hall for COVID-19. Join us and get some more information about it. Thank you for your precious time once again. And yeah, vote for Empowering Mavericks. Go Mavs.
All right. That is it for everything. Thank you for everyone for being here, and like I said, taking the time out of your day to come in and listen to the candidates. Just some quick things, obviously be checking your email. We'll be in contact a lot, sending out emails with links to, candidate information and Facebook pages and things like that. Just try to help push as much information as we can. Also election times and things like that, because I know it's going to be weird with this 3-day election going on, but we're making adjustments. We're going to be communicating a lot. So just make sure you're checking your email, social media, and reaching out with any questions. As last night at midnight was the deadline for all applicants to file, we've been working on that candidate guide, and we're looking to get that made ready and available to everyone by the end of the week. So kind of be like a full guide as to who's running for what positions, their biographies and everything. So you can go through and start to look at the different candidates and why they want to run for the positions and all that stuff. So look for that here later in the week, maybe as soon as tomorrow, and we're really shooting for no later than Friday.
Just want to take the time and thank you, Hunter. Good job putting up the town hall. It was really appreciative. Thank you so much, brother.
Anytime. You all have my contact information. I'm sure you've all seen my emails and all that stuff. So any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out. But big thank you for everyone to taking your time out of your day and being here. And great job, candidates.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and you all have a very good rest of your day. Hopefully you can join student government meeting at 4. Yeah, bye.
I just want to say quickly before everyone goes, thank you for all the students that came. Thank you for Hunter for putting in all your time. I know this is very stressful and a lot of work. But we also want to say thank you to the staff who came and are truly appreciating the student issues we're putting forward and talking about here. I think either way, whoever's elected, we are talking about issues that a lot of students care about. And the staff and administration in this room are understanding this and are going to try to work, even whoever gets elected, to implement these things, because I know they care about these issues just as much as we do. And when we bring to light what we're talking about as students and what the big issues facing us, they're able to implement and work on them. So I think both of us did a great job talking about the issues of students. And we hope they can kind of pick apart what we've talked about and hopefully work regardless of what's happening.
Perfect. All right. I've got nothing else, so we're good to go.